Ariel. Really nice to meet you today. Thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with us here.
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
How was your talk?
It was really good.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we had a good time talking about economic uncertainty and how security teams can use market uncertainty to help our colleagues and help ourselves get what we need to get done.
Okay. Very interesting. I'll definitely catch that up on YouTube later.
Yeah, should be good.
Thank you. And one other thing that I wanted to talk to you about today is your unique background. You have a very interesting background from a lot of the other people that typically tend to attend security conferences. So can you talk to our audience about your background, your journey into cybersecurity, and what do you do currently?
Sure. Yes. So far I have it is a unique life path that includes my academic background is in cognitive science and linguistics. I have actually published an invented language that is one of my journal publications. Yeah. I began my career in national security policy, and then was basically a freelance writer and independent, researcher and analyst. But most of my focus was on like national security and policy and things like that. I've published on laser weapons. Yeah, and like the difference in this is like very very niche, but the difference in procurement between special operations forces and conventional force army. So if you ever want to get into that, there's that. And I've also worked at a liquor store after I lost my job. I've been on unemployment. I worked at a climbing gym teaching little small children, and now I work at an observability company, a SaaS company, and I am a PM doing product security.
Wonderful.
So yeah, it's been quite a. Oh, and I also worked as a government contractor. So before that, so. That was, it's been really interesting, going from being independent to being in a large company and working with the government to being now in a publicly traded company and just sort of learning the different ins and outs, the different languages, how business happens and the different pace, things like that. So,
wonderful. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. And based on the journey that you just described, you have experience in the public sector, you've been self-employed, you have worked at a big organization. That's a lot of different experiences. And in order to be successful at each of these, I believe one must have some unique skills that are cultivated. And that would definitely be working with people from different backgrounds and communicating with them differently.
Exactly. Yeah. I used to say, like, back when when I was independent and applying for jobs, there was a lot of overlap in that time. So the way that I used to sort of sell my skills was to say that my area of expertise is a skill set and not a subject. So I'm not a subject matter expert, but what I can do is sit down with subject matter experts from across, any number of disciplines and listen and learn from them and then translate that to stakeholders in a different part of a company or a different part of the ecosystem, or to customers or to regulators or back again, hackers and policymakers and covering that gap. So lots of translating between subject matter experts and also like what I jokingly refer to as normal people, right? Like your users, right? Like the people that, your end users versus your buyers, like understanding all the different players in these ecosystems and what their pain points are, what their needs are, how they think. To the talk that I gave today was as much about for security professionals to better understand how our boss's boss thinks. Like, what is driving the CEO of your company? What are they worried about right now? Because ultimately, if you want to get things done, you need to make sure that it works with what they need, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's really a lot of communicating one idea in different ways where it is easily comprehensible and digestible by the different audience that you have.
Yeah. Like definitely a lot of like one concept different ways, and also applying a lot of empathy. But I remember at one point I had a client that had a very difficult time, or rather my team had a difficult time with the client changing their mind on things, halfway through a process. And so I made this client a checklist, a calendar, a visual like roadmap, like a pretty picture timeline to illustrate what happens if you change your mind about some content. At this point in the process, it moves us all the way back here. Like you can't, if you want to change your mind about what is in this video during post-production, that means we have to start over. And so, but being able to like explain that in literally 3 or 4 different ways, because one of them was going to work, and my team was having a hard time like getting. So I was like, one of the here's 4 options. Pick one, right? And then leading with empathy and thinking about why does this person have trouble? Why do they want to change it at the end? Like, are they nervous about Are they nervous about what their boss thinks? Do they have a good understanding of what their boss wants, or their users, or all of that? And again, going back to sort of what I was talking about this afternoon, and economic uncertainty and budget cuts and layoffs, right? How do we, as security professionals, sort of recognize that a lot of our colleagues, particularly in the tech sector, are feeling a little anxious right now and worried about their jobs? Is now really the time to give them one more thing to worry about, or can we work with them to help them cut costs and also achieve security goals, reducing tool sprawl, for example. That finance will love us if we can say, hey finance, we have 15 different diagramming tools. What if we only had one? Right?
Yeah. And consolidation.
Exactly.
I think that's definitely a direction in which the industry is moving. So
at both an internal level and a macro level,
Correct.
We're seeing a lot of
and this could just be the catalyst for all of that. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that perspective. And as someone who comes from a formal background of linguistics, which is very interesting, and you've also worked in security sufficiently long, you've observed the people here who work in, day out.
Yeah.
What would you say, like, how should security practitioners think about somebody who's still not in the field and how they can come and add value?
Yeah.
And what would you say for people who are looking to break into this field? I know this question gets asked a lot in terms of, what should I do to break into security, because the barrier to entry seems high. This has been a common question that gets thrown around. But I'd like to hear your unique perspective on how people within the community should think about the value add that others provide, and what the others should think about in terms of what they bring to the table and how they can best advocate for themselves.
Definitely, yes. So I am a big proponent of looking outside security for security-related answers. If we could solve all our problems ourselves, we'd be done. But obviously, that's not the case. So I really encourage security professionals to ask more questions and listen to other folks' answers.
Okay.
And also to, I think there's definitely a vibe, and the security community has a bit of a reputation. I too am guilty of this after I've been here this long, which is weird to think about. We can definitely come off as doomsayers and also know-it-alls a little bit. Again, I am very guilty of this, so I'm taking my own note here. But taking a step back and being a little bit more judicious with, okay, what is the actual risk here? What is both, can we quantify that? Like, what is the actual likelihood of the bad thing, and how bad is it really? And is it as bad as some of the other bad things, or maybe not? Like, if it's not as bad as some of the other bad things, then maybe we'll tackle that later. Like, you're not going to get everything all at once. And then also listening to our stakeholders about what their needs are, what their priorities are, and figuring out how we can get to yes. That's something that I personally am really working on right now, is like, how can we get to yes here? And then for folks outside the security community, I've had a lot of conversations recently about, as I was getting ready for this talk, about about submitting, and people saying like, oh well, I don't, like I'd love to, but I don't think I have anything to say, or like I don't feel like enough of a subject matter expert to like contribute. And it's like no, like you definitely just be, you've got to believe it yourself first, but having an outside perspective is like, this is gonna sound really like nerdy, but it's fresh, right? Like we need fresh.
Yes.
Adversaries change things. Things are always evolving. We need new blood, new opinions, new energy. Come join us.
I think that's wonderful.
We have cookies sometimes.
And ice creams.
And ice cream.
So thanks
There's
for
ice
that.
cream?
Yeah. Sometimes.
Oh yeah, sometimes.
Yeah, so that's a wonderful call to action. And with that, I'd like to ask you about your experience here at BSidesNYC. What's this been like for you as somebody who's presenting a topic that perhaps is not very common in the security conference area? So what has your experience been like, and what's been your favorite moment at BSidesNYC so far?
Yeah, honestly, I was surprised at how many people showed up to my talk because it's not a traditionally security-y kind of talk. And there was another cool one about like pen testing at the same time. I was like, nobody's gonna come to this.
But that shows, right?
Yeah.
That your intuition and what everybody around you told was actually accurate.
No, it does. You never know. And I think both the coolest parts were like first seeing the room most like full, and then also part of my talk was it was more of a workshop, so we had time to like I split the room up by tables and gave different tables different case studies, sort of, in like different scenarios. And so getting to go around and like hear people talk about these different scenarios, and people who had been senior management in companies, or people who had dealt with mergers and acquisitions before, versus people who are definitely like more security engineer types or students, and people who are on the policy side, kind of like where my background is, and everyone talking about and like sharing their perspectives from all these different places coming together and like talking about the same challenges. And the cool part for me also is like, they learned something from me, and like getting to share that knowledge and that like new language set to tackle some of our shared challenges, because a lot of the time we all deal with a lot of the same stuff. Not enough people, not enough money, too many vulnerabilities. How do we make this work?
Oh no, we don't want to sound like doomsayers again.
No, it's fine.
Yes, but thank you so much for sharing that thought perspective of yours. And to end this, what would you tell people from different backgrounds about BSidesNYC? Like, why should they come to this, and what value add is it for them?
Yeah, I loved the value add. Really was seeing how many different types of people were here. Like how many the student presence has been great. Seeing people of different seniorities, and I'm making some assumptions based on age, but there's been a wide range of aged people, which is great. A lot of
those who want to share their
share their experience. Like there are some security professionals who've been around for a long time, like 40 plus years, and they have some knowledge.
Yes.
Right, and it's great to see them.
Yes.
To have them in the room, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm really impressed with like the breadth and the diversity of people and experiences and experts and speakers that I've seen.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's been great.
Wonderful, and I hope more people continue to apply and come to the conference and support the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much for your time, Ariel. This was a great conversation.
Yes, thank you.
I really enjoyed talking to you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.